Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are so glad you could join us today for Trail Talk. We are here live from the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center in Duncan, Oklahoma. We're in our classroom studio again. I guess you guys notice our artwork. This is Bernetta Griffith artwork behind us. She painted a series of kind of the evolution of home building in Oklahoma after, the land runs and everything when people were first coming to settle. And so we like to put this up because we're doing our land run session right now. Anyway, enough about all of that. Let me introduce you to our guest. This is a very dear and longtime friend of mine, Jan Palovik. And you might notice she didn't just pick Beautiful Day t-shirt to wear today for no good reason. Even though it's always a good day to kind of be a billboard.
It is.
Right, for a beautiful day. But Jan is here to talk to us about Kindred Community, which is kind of under the Beautiful Day umbrella.
It is an initiative of Beautiful Day.
An initiative of Beautiful Day. And you might remember 2 weeks ago today, I believe, Caitlin Godfrey, who is the executive director of Beautiful Day, was our guest. And so now Jan's going to come in and share about Kindred Community with us. Super, super great. Program, initiative, gathering, whatever you want to call it. It's just such a great thing, Jan. So, okay. Tell us a little bit about you. Are you from this area? Are you from Duncan?
I was not originally from Duncan. I was recruited here in the 90s and by Duncan Anesthesia.
Okay, so you work at the hospital.
I've retired from Duncan Anesthesia Associates, and so I had a 20+ career at Duncan Regional Hospital.
So you came here, had kiddos you raised and all of that, and now that you're retired, you're still sticking around.
Absolutely.
Duncan became home.
It did become home. We love it here.
Well, that's awesome. So so Beautiful Day. I forgot. Caitlin told me how many years ago that started.
2013.
2013. Okay, so yeah, so Beautiful Day started in 2013. And were you one of the first people to work with Beautiful Day? Have you been with them that long?
I was not a founding board member, but I was around and knew those ladies that started it. Was very supportive of the efforts.
Okay, and so how did Kindred Community become a thing? Because am I right that Kindred Community was kind of something that you were feeling a stirring about, and so you kind of presented that idea? Is that?
Well, I will clarify that.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I did receive a call to Widows Ministry, and it was in church on a Sunday morning when I felt that call, and I was in a Bible study with the two ladies that founded Beautiful Day, Leah Miller and Michelle Johnson.
Okay.
And so on Wednesday, we would pray that morning for the Bible study that evening, and I was just a little stirred in my heart about what am I supposed to do with widows ministry. So that morning before we prayed about the upcoming Bible study that evening, I said, ladies, would you please pray with me about something? I feel like that I've been called to a widows ministry, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with it. And as it turns out, it came out through that conversation. Leah's like, the Lord's really been stirring my heart about a widow's ministry as well. And she had talked to only Michelle about it. And so that morning, they asked me if I would be the coordinator for Kindred Community of Widows. It wasn't named Kindred Community.
Oh, okay.
But it was the widow's side of Beautiful Day. So that's how I got connected with what became Kindred Community.
Okay, and so and what year was that?
That was in probably the summer of 2014.
Okay, so Beautiful Day had been around for about a year.
Yes.
And gaining momentum already.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I mean, what a great thing for them to be open to an additional, an initiative and with a completely different population of the
Yes.
community.
Mhm.
To want, to just feel like this is the time after just 1 year.
Yes.
I mean, that's very impressive. So give us, that's how it started. So how did it evolve? How did the whole idea, and kind of share with people, what does a Kindred community evening look like? And kind of all those,
Okay. Well, I'll start with how it evolved. It was the initial founding board members with Leah and Michelle are just a dynamic group of individuals. And we just brainstormed, we didn't know what to call it, how to present it, we brainstormed with many ideas, and we came up with the plan that we would call it Kindred Community, and that we would meet once a month around a table and a meal with these ladies, developing, a community of friendships, and, and everything is always better around a meal as far as fellowship.
right.
So it is not a religious affiliated organization, if you will, but the churches in town are the ones who are large enough. Many of them have, room to host
A
200 or
facility.
300 ladies, yes, in their fellowship halls. So we presented the idea to First United Methodist Church, and they were supportive. And we decided to have our first event there in September of 2014. I'll digress just a little bit. We did have training prior to that from a group in Tulsa called Stand in the Gap Ministries. And they just really did give us some great training on, because they've already started a widow's ministry, not exactly like this. In fact, they love the way we do Kindred Community, but they did train us, and they even, Buddy Stone, a gentleman from Stand in the Gap, came to Duncan, and we actually had a training session with all volunteers that wanted to start with us in September. People I had never even met before, but we just tried to get the word out, and he did a beautiful training for us and made sure that we understood that we can have sympathy, and we can relate on some level with these ladies, but we certainly cannot have the empathy, because we can't feel what they felt if you haven't lost a spouse.
Right.
And he just really did give us great tips on how to relate to them in a loving way. And that's what we do, is just from the moment they walk in the door, they are being loved on. We make sure that no one sits alone, that they're seen from the moment they walk in, and they have a name tag that's placed on them, letting them know also that they're expected. We do take RSVPs, and I'm the luckiest person in the world. I get to take those RSVPs. I've done that since before our September of 2014 meeting. I've got a number they call, and I get to visit with them. If I don't answer the phone at that time, they're comfortable now that they just leave a message, and if they need anything, they just ask me to call them back, and I do. And
so you've developed a rapport with these ladies over the years. And so you have some who have been coming since the very beginning?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That is awesome.
It is awesome.
And okay, so I'm kind of interested in like some of the, okay, you mentioned a couple of things, like that they have a name tag. And when I had the privilege to go to Kindred Community in, was it February? January. Okay. In January. And that was one of the things I noticed, was that when my husband and I walked in, I was not there as for dinner. I was the entertainment. So anyway, but there was a table and there were name tags on there, and I noticed the ladies wearing the name tags. I thought, oh, that's so nice that they have that there. And so that, yes, they're expected, someone is waiting for them to be there. And then, that you love on them. But I mean, what are a couple of other things that are important that people maybe aren't aware of when you're trying to spend time with or befriend or, help a widow, a woman who has lost her husband? What are some of those things that you learned, that people would just be able to do?
One of the most important things that we learned as an organization was we don't use the term widow very frequently at all. It's just, especially when it's new to them, that's something that's very difficult to relate to, that terminology. We've found that over and over. The other thing that stuck in my mind that's so important is they want their loved one to be mentioned. They want you to talk to them about it. They love hearing his name. And some people shy away from that. I know prior to our training and just being exposed to this ministry, I was uncomfortable maybe because I didn't really know, okay, should I say anything? Should I not? And as we've learned, hey, they haven't forgotten that he's passed. They haven't forgotten that he's not with them. So we do, I think probably, you might have experienced it when we were there. When you came to visit us, we have a great time.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I have such a wonderful time with these ladies. I do a lot of, I'm sort of the MC, if you will, just the host. And so I love to joke with them. They love to laugh. It's their night out to fellowship and have fun.
Yes.
And, we are very mindful that if, we have volunteers at each table and they're in charge of their 7 or 8 ladies, and they watch closely if something triggers a sad moment or whatever. It's people over processes. That's one of our mottos. You stop what you're doing as far as serving their tea and you kneel down beside them, or if they want to go out of the room and visit or cry, whatever. We just are really trying to keep all eyes on them and be mindful of what their need is.
So these women who've experienced this loss, then I'm going to use other words besides widow when I'm talking about. Are they all ages?
They are all ages. So many people have the notion that widows are all old.
Right.
And speaking from personal experience, my mom lost my dad when she was 62 and she never remarried. And so we have them ranging from in the 30s to the 90s.
Wow.
And in fact, we have a lady that we celebrated I don't know if it was in January or February, but she was 104. So
goodness.
the average
Good for her.
range is in the 60s, like mid to late 60s, the last time we checked.
Right.
I don't know what it is at this very moment, but we had some really young widows for a while. And they remarried.
Yeah. So the number of volunteers that I saw, there were a lot of people there. How many volunteers would you say it takes to pull off a Kindred community night?
Well, I think we could pull it off with any amount that we had, but it's nothing to have 30 to 50.
30 to 50 people. And I have to imagine that the ladies who are there just being served and loved on, what an absolute joy for them to see all of these men and women alike there, just for them, just to serve them, just to allow them to sit at a table and visit and be served. I mean, how beautiful is that?
It is a beautiful thing. I'm glad you got to witness it firsthand.
Me
great.
too.
And, we've only had one time where men have served, and we were going to looked like we might be short on the staff as far as volunteers, 1 February. And we really do try to be mindful of February. It's a tough month, with Valentine's Day. So some of us had our husbands come help, like my husband got to actually serve that night. And I'm telling you what, he was so impacted by it. Usually though, the men are not in the auditorium with us. The men are on the outside. They actually pick up the women in golf carts and bring them to the door, open the doors and escort them in. And man, they love that.
I did get to help one time. The high school hosted a beautiful day. I guess it was when AJ was still in school. Maybe it was a student council. Yeah, student council hosted. And I remember, boy, you talk about organized. I mean, in the kitchen, they were telling us, here's how you do it, and you fill that plate just like this. And those kids were out there, but the young men and women were serving everybody. And that was a great night.
Oh, my word. We thought it was a great night too. And the fun thing about that is we do try to provide variety of venues and of entertainment and all that. And so many of these ladies graduated from Duncan High School, and it was the new renovation, if you remember.
It
and
was in that new cafeteria. And I think Reflections maybe performed for them. I think that they may have sung some songs that night. Yeah, it was just a glorious little night. It was really, really fun. But it was brand new. That cafeteria and all of that was.
We had fun that night.
Yeah, but so now this happens except for during COVID, which we'll talk about that here in a minute. Kind of how that looked and how you have. Like yesterday with Terry, we decided to use pre-COVID and post-COVID because we're thinking very positively.
I
that
love
we are
that.
post-COVID.
Let's do it.
Yes. So anyway, so every month, 12 times a year since September of 2014.
Yes.
Take us through what happens to pull off a Kindred community every month.
Okay. Well, we obviously have to have a venue. Okay. And I just started building a database, if you will, of people, and it was mostly churches, with the exception of the Simmons Center. But the venue and the host are typically the same, one and the same. So for example, our first event was at First United Methodist Church. We all know they have that beautiful fellowship hall that accommodates 300 people at least
easily.
if we need to do it that way. So the church gets to schedule the date, and we always come to agreement that it's a good date for the Kindred community volunteers and for the church. The church or whoever the host is provides the meal.
Okay.
And if there's a theme going on, like as far as our entertainment, or if it's going to be the 50th or something, for example, First Christian Church, Liz Collins was always so fun because if the theme was going to be the 50s and 60s, then she would do something like have Elvis there, and she would cook burgers and fries, and it would be like it's something really fun like that. But anyway, their cook gets to decide what meal they're comfortable with. And then the Beautiful Day volunteers are the ones that actually serve the meal. But I've got now, since we've evolved into everything runs pretty much like a well-oiled machine, I'll schedule the place, and then I have a core team, a Kindred community core team, comprised of volunteers who are very passionate. We meet, and there's a decoration committee, and there's an entertainment committee, and a card committee, because each lady gets a birthday card, and also a card on the day that they said their last goodbye, the anniversary of that date. Every year they get a card. But, it's just a collaborative effort,
Mhm.
and things just work like clockwork. And so far, we've utilized churches mostly, but if we have any organization that wants to be the host,
Like student council.
like student council, the school was big enough, that cafeteria was big enough for us to kind of rig things up where we could
Right.
accommodate, 250 ladies.
Yeah, yeah.
And pre-COVID, there were months that we had over 300 RSVPs. And then, so, it'd be nothing to have in the high 200s as far as guests.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, I'm trying to think we've used the Comanche, City Center. What's it
Yes.
called? I can't remember.
I
Asbury
can't
Center or
remember
something like that.
either.
We've used that. We've used the high school. We've used the Simmons Center.
Well, the
And-
fairgrounds where I went, of course, that was the Cowboy Church is where, that's where they
Every
meet.
January, they love to
Uh-huh.
host.
But, yeah.
That's
had
the
that.
Open Range Cowboy.
Oh,
Church.
Open Range Cowboy Church, yeah,
Yes.
it's on the fair, it's at the fairgrounds.
Yes, good point, Edie. Thanks for pointing that out. And that is perfect. I mean,
Mhm.
and we don't have a set menu. It's just so fun. Like, Tim, from Tim's place, he's the cook for the Cowboy Church, Open
Mhm.
Range Cowboy Church, and he cooks for Kindred Community every January. Oh my gosh, we love him so much. This year, he did breakfast.
Mm.
And it's always cold. Who doesn't like breakfast for dinner?
Yes.
I mean, I do.
Yes.
And those ladies loved it. So, what have I missed out?
Oh, well,
I'm
no,
sure
I was just,
that I'm not thinking.
so
of.
how far in advance are you booking your venues? Like, do you have this year already booked all the way?
I do not have this year already booked. Prior to COVID, by the first quarter, I would get the first quarter booked.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I would, by the beginning of the second quarter, typically, I would have the full year ready to present to the board so they could have it on their calendar, the Beautiful Day Board.
Mm-hmm.
Post-COVID, it's been a little bit difficult, because we're just now really able to say post-COVID, I think.
Right,
We're
yes, I
praying,
agree.
keeping our fingers crossed that it is, because I tried to start things back up at the end of last year. For example, in September, we were going to have our 7-year celebration,
Mhm.
and we had to cancel September because COVID reared its ugly head again.
Mhm.
So in January, things were, looking pretty good. So
Right.
we just forged ahead
Mhm.
and made sure that each lady knew that, COVID was still out there. And if they wanted to wear a mask, that was fine.
Mhm.
We did not make mask mandatory. We did suggest it for our volunteers. But, we just decided we've got to start back at some point, and we were at a place we felt like it was safe. And these ladies, we communicated all through COVID with them.
I was going to ask you, so how
Yes.
many did you have to miss?
17 months. It was so sad.
Wow.
Oh, we longed to be able to do it.
And
but we
so,
missed
so
17.
what did you do? How did you keep those connections?
We
with
have a
those ladies?
database. Thank the Lord for,
Technology, exactly.
It's beautiful. It is so beautiful. In fact, it really did help us clean up our database and really, get things in order to where we knew the appropriate phone number, because over the course of years, and I'll go back just a little bit. Every time, the first time visitors fill out a form,
Mhm.
okay, whatever they want to put on it, but we do have a form, and we love having their name and their phone number, their address, so that we can mail them cards and contact them should we need to. And so we had that, but some of that information was outdated.
Mhm.
So we cleaned that all up during the COVID situation and divided that database up in teams. And we had volunteers. They were beautiful even during COVID. And they teamed up and called their group of ladies.
Mhm.
And we color coded a spreadsheet to where the ones who had great support, the ones who needed a bit of support from us,
Mhm.
and then those that had no support. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, there are some ladies out there that had no support that really needed it.
Mm.
So we just utilized our volunteers to make porch drop-offs. I think our number one was communicating with them over the phone.
Mhm.
As things warm, when it warmed up and things were where I did a lot of porch visits, or I'd sit in the yard or stand in the yard and they'd be on their porch.
Right.
And, but Caitlin was very, we've got two of the greatest administrative people. Caitlin as our executive director, and then Jill Waller is our very first employee that we hired. And she is the administrative assistant. And those two just really helped that database, just come into play big time, and shared all the information that I needed to help. I mean, even both of those girls shopped for some of our ladies, and Jill lives in Marlow,
Mhm.
and she would take things to people's houses and drop it off on their porches. But I just really think having that database with current data was the
Right.
greatest.
I am just sitting here thinking about how this all happened in 2014. Nobody foreseen 6 years, 5 years out, that there would be a pandemic, but that those relationships had already been built so that no one, at least in Kindred community, had to suffer through those long months without anybody reaching out to them, without any any kind of camaraderie or just a touch, just that call, hey, how are you? Here's something we're thinking about. Can we get something? All of those little helps that would have never happened, or most likely, when you said there are some who don't have any support system, my goodness, that's just another, just a great, the timing and everything of all of that is just, I think it's really important to really think about that, and to know that you had to have had all of that groundwork done. Those committed volunteers do you have volunteers who've been doing Kindred community for 7 years?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so many pieces of this puzzle, and it just all fits together just perfectly for all, and for it to survive through 17 months
Yes.
of not meeting. And then I think you said in January there were 175 or 150 or something like that.
I can't remember the exact number, but we had a great
It
turnout,
was,
as you
it
saw.
was, yes, it was really, there were a ton of people there. So when you first kicked off, like how many attendees did you have at the beginning?
We had 49 at our first event.
49. And so March, how many were at that one?
It just started doubling. I mean, and then
like this March,
oh,
like
this
month,
March, I'm sorry,
like
191.
191.
And,
Wow.
we still are seeing people stay home because of COVID.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, to have, 191 was great. And it's starting to have the energy, that feel of the pre-COVID.
Mhm.
At first, even in January, it was tentative.
It was.
They were still tentative, and we were tentative because we are huggers. All of the volunteers, I mean, I'm a big time hugger.
Yeah.
And they love to reciprocate the hug,
Mhm.
the widows do. And so, but we were all standoffish, a little bit.
Mhm.
it
Well,
was
after I performed, then I went to sit down, and because I wasn't sure what else was going to, you guys were going to be, and I think you started doing birthdays and making some announcements and things like that. And then something caught my eye, and I looked over, and one of the ladies was waving me over, and she had I performed one of the characters that I do here at the Heritage Center, and Pearl Carter Scott, who was from Marlow.
Which is awesome.
And so she said, I know exactly where that house is that you were talking about, that land by that church. And then another one came over. I knew Pearl. And then, I
Oh.
mean, and then they were all, and they just wanted to, tell me all about those experiences with them. And I was
They
like,
weren't ready for you to leave.
they weren't. But I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable being so close to them because I thought if I have anything and don't know it and I give it to someone, because January, it was still, anyway, so I
They were
know,
still
I know,
cautionary.
yes, exactly what you're talking about. I didn't have a mask on and I thought I can't slap a mask on right here while I'm talking to, anyway, but it was so great. And I thought under other circumstances, I would have sat and talked to these ladies for hours, just.
Well, they want you back.
It was, oh boy.
Do you have
Oh,
another
boy.
character? Because, and two, they want to see the movie.
Oh, the movie.
Oh,
yes.
man, they're talking about that. They're like, Jan, when are we going to get to see that?
Oh, I hope
movie?"
you get to watch that because the movie is great. It's much better than my performance. So it's awesome. But yes, I do have other characters. So yes,
Good deal.
yes. You've been here. You've been doing this for 7 years.
7+ years.
7+ years. Is this what your vision for Kindred Community? Like once you kind of got things rolling, is this what you envisioned it to be? And do you see anything different or bigger or like, how Beautiful Day is now at numerous places around the state? And Caitlin was talking about how, these groups kind of raise up and they become kind of their own entity at, at whatever schools and school systems and things. Do you see Kindred Community growing like that, or has it already, or have you thought
It
about
has,
that?
yes, we've
Okay.
thought about it. And to answer your first question, is it what I envisioned? I think it probably exceeds anything that we could have expected. I mean, in my mind, it certainly does. And we have had two places reach out to us and want to start Kindred Community in their city or their area, and we've helped them get started. Kindred Community is a little bit different than the schools, going through the schools, because everything is pretty standardized in a school. Kindred Community doesn't have that standardization. We offer some sort of standardization, if you will, but maybe not everyone wants it to be just exactly like the way we do it. And so we have helped Ada and Ardmore get a widow's ministry started that is very similar to Kindred Community. They don't call it Kindred Community because that's a Beautiful Day Foundation title, but we have definitely tried to start it, and certainly my heart would be if we could get it going in other places, but it's a difficult thing to replicate. It really is. So, and because there's such a vision for it, but at least many other widows are being touched by us even reaching out to these other communities and sharing the information and how we did it, so. Right.
So, now you said we got the word out, but like really, how do you have 30 to 50 volunteers show up monthly for this? How does that work? Like, how did you get people? Word of mouth, or it had to have been some kind of a campaign. I mean, seriously.
It does sound like it would be a campaign, doesn't it? But it really is word of mouth. As far as Kindred Community, just getting word out to widows, when we initially, Michelle and Leah and I talked to a church about doing it, it was so cute. We giggle about it now, but it's like, when we pitched the idea, if you will, a widow was in the meeting and she said to us, well, good luck, I'm a widow and I wouldn't attend, or something like that. I mean, she wasn't meaning it at all hateful, but the three of us left there and we're like, she said, you'll be lucky. We'll be really lucky. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But, I think that church maybe put it in their bulletin. And then other churches started doing that, and then making brochures, and then, the Beautiful Day Foundation website and Facebook page.
Mhm.
Facebook is really great for getting word out like that. We do have Group Me that we set up.
Uh-huh.
Once we do get volunteers, we sign them up on the birthday side and the Kindred community side. And
Mhm.
so we communicate via a Group Me.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are other formats out there, but that's what we
Right.
do
Mhm.
currently. And I mean, really, Beautiful Day Foundation, it is just so well received that
Mhm.
people really want to be a volunteer.
Mhm.
And the other thing that I think is wonderful about the Kindred community side of it, volunteer situation, is it's not like one of those things where somebody's keeping score. If you come one month, great. And if you can't make it, we miss you. But
Right.
you sign up each month saying you're gonna be there, and otherwise, we don't, like I said, we do not keep score if you're there or you're not there. And you can come early and decorate that morning and be a volunteer that way. Or you can come that night and serve, or you can come that night late. If you get your kids to bed and your hubby's home, then you can come clean up. There's just so many ways to volunteer that I think it's
Right.
beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm thinking about a viewer who has maybe felt like they needed a place to volunteer, and they hadn't realized that there was an evening opportunity called Kindred Community with, it sounds like 3 different shifts,
For real.
basically, that, whatever your schedule would allow. Do you try to have it the same, like second Monday of the month? Do you kind of try to have it like that, or is it just a different time every month?
We
depending?
don't do that. It was discussed in the very beginning when we were trying to decide, what we wanted to do, but it's organic. The church decides the date
Mhm.
within parameters, sometimes I give them some dates and will
Right,
this
yeah.
work for you better? And so that seems to work better for us rather than, being locked into, because then, a special date each month, because
Mhm.
then, churches have to work, especially in the summer months, they're working around VBS, they're working around camps,
Right.
summer camps, and many times the cook for the church might be the cook at Falls Creek or
Mhm.
whatever. So it's very organic. We just know we're going to have it every month.
Mhm.
And occasionally it works out to where one church needs to do it at the end of the month and the next church needs to do it at the beginning of the month. And we've had some fast turnarounds, but you know what? It's always worked out. So anymore, I just don't get nervous about it at all because it's God breathed, and he's going to work it out.
Right.
And he always has 100% of the time.
Well, I mean, you've got 5 years pre-COVID, 17 months of no meetings at all. Now we're shifting into our post-COVID time, and you had almost 200 guests the last time you met. So I would say, yeah, it's rolling.
It's rolling.
It is rolling. So if you are a widow, if you're newly widowed and you're just not sure about going out and spending time with other women like that, thinking that's not going to work for me, that's going to be too much, that's going to bring me down, how would you respond to someone who, because in my mind, I'm kind of thinking about, I'm going to withdraw. I don't think public is my kind of thing. I don't want to admit, I don't want to say I'm a widow. If I go to something that is for widows, then I am admitting, I'm accepting that.
Yes.
What would you say to someone?
Well, I really do always try to get them in connection with someone who's familiar with Kindred community. But we do not strong arm anybody
Sure,
with this
sure.
and make them, I don't want to say to them, this is for you,
Mm-hmm.
because it may not be. I mean, if we're really candid about it, there are some ladies that have never found it to be their thing. But the majority, I'm gonna say, of those who have been invited
Mm-hmm.
come back with joy, the next time ready to be there. I do try to just visit with them and kind of see where they're coming from. And then I always tell them, you can, if you have a daughter or a granddaughter or a friend that you want to bring, we welcome them to bring a guest
Mm-hmm.
for as long as they need to.
Mm-hmm.
But typically what happens is they'll bring a guest and maybe for a time or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ladies who've been coming for a while, they're so mindful of new guests, because we do have, there's a way to know that they're a new guest. They have a little gold ribbon on their name tag. And that is not to label them, but that is to let us know as volunteers and as ladies at their table,
Mm-hmm.
love on these guys a little bit
Mhm.
extra,
Mhm.
let them know that they're seen and loved,
Mm-hmm.
and that beautiful days do lie ahead for them,
Right.
So we just really try to be gentle.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've had people that it's just not their cup of tea. They're just not gonna
Sure.
get out into a crowd and do
Sure.
that.
So if we have, someone's watching this and they have someone close to them who's newly widowed or new to the area, but she's by herself, or maybe she just is needing some companionship, some activity like this, what would they need to do to get in touch with you and get on that? Find out when is the next one? Can they make it? That sort of thing. What should they do?
Yes. Well, the Beautiful Day Foundation website is great. They can call Jill or Caitlin, and they're on there, but I take the RSVPs, and they're welcome to call the 580-467-1925. That's my personal cell number. And, okay.
Yeah. We're going to be putting some of this information in the comment section.
Good.
Because we want people who maybe are seeing this and they're thinking of someone,
Okay.
they're thinking, what can I do? And so they could, Beautiful Day Foundation, what about, is the Kindred Community Facebook page? Or is it, do
It's
you
not
guys
a Kindred
have?
Community Facebook page, but
Okay,
we do, through the foundation Facebook page.
Beautiful Day Foundation Facebook page, someone could contact through that
Mhm.
also.
Yes, they could. And the RSVP phone is 580-760-6009.
Did you get that? Okay.
And or the churches, if you're affiliated with the church, or if you have a friend, that you do not have to receive an invitation in the mail for this, to come, okay?
Mhm.
It is very helpful if they RSVP,
Right.
so that we know that they're coming,
Mhm.
and the church or whoever the host is can provide the amount
Prepare
of
enough
food.
food,
Mhm.
right.
Um,
And then if there was a volunteer, maybe the same thing, is there a volunteer button or something on the Beautiful Day Foundation
There is.
page? Okay,
Yes. Yes.
okay,
And it's separate. The volunteer application is right there on the page.
mhm,
And for the birthday program, it's separate than Kindred Community. So you
okay.
can
And
click on which
good,
one you
good,
want.
so you can distinguish
Yes.
between those two. That's really good. So do you guys vet? I asked Caitlin about this, about vetting the adults who go to Beautiful Day. Do you guys vet the volunteers for Kindred Community? I mean, I know
We-
you probably don't, I don't know.
We do not do a background
Okay.
check for, since it's an adult.
Mhm.
initiative, but like they do for the birthday program,
Right.
they do background checks on
Yes.
everybody that will be around the children.
Mhm.
But yes, those typically we get applications from people who have been recommended even, there's always, it seems to be that somebody knows somebody and that's how, that's how you do it.
Right, right.
But anybody that wants to can apply.
Mhm.
So
So when's the next Kindred community?
April 21st
Uh-huh.
at New Hope West.
Mhm.
And it's from 6 to 8 p.m.
Is that pretty much standard time?
Standard time.
Okay.
6 to 8 p.m. And our special guests start showing up around 4:30. They
Of course.
love getting the seat that they
want.
choose,
Uh-huh.
closest to the stage or furthest from the stage, whichever, so that, everything will be just perfect. And,
Right.
it's been so fun to learn our population, and just see the little nuances,
Mhm.
but they're eager. I mean,
Right.
they look forward to that all month,
Mhm.
Miss
That's-
Edie. They
that's-
really do. It's fun.
Jan, this has to be one of the most fulfilling things you've done in your life.
By far.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
Mhm.
you've done some pretty fulfilling, you've been a mom, you're a nurse.
Yeah, my career's been fulfilling.
Yeah, but this has to be one of those really top.
It
things.
is. It is. Anytime, I mean, I'm just so humbled to think that the Lord would whisper in my ear,
Mhm. Mhm.
about widows.
Right.
In whatever capacity I do a widow's ministry, and I'm thankful, but I'm just over the top thankful that Beautiful Day Foundation, asked me to be part of their ministry.
Right.
It's an honor.
Right, and that you didn't have to start from scratch. They already had that organizational structure kind of there for
Mhm.
you. I mean, that was perfect.
Yes.
That was just perfect. Well, listen, I hope you guys have learned a lot about Kindred community. I mean, I hope you are somehow interested, whether
Yes.
you are someone who's experienced that loss or you are looking for a place to serve people in that place in life. I
Absolutely.
mean, all of us know someone, or we are that person. We all do.
True.
And so, I mean, it's just a wonderful organization. I'm so glad you could come and share with us today. And I hope
Thank
that you get
you.
some interested participants or volunteers out of this, because I'm sure that would be great. It'd
It
be
would.
more volunteers, maybe because you're going to have more and more ladies coming.
We are.
Mhm.
And we really, if you're an organization that wants to host Kindred Community,
Mm.
or if you know of a venue that's large enough, I really, really do need more venues and more hosts.
Very good. You
Mhm.
guys heard that. So if you're watching and you've got access to a place,
Yes.
get in touch with Jan. I mean, we have a multi-purpose room, but we don't have a place big enough to serve that many ladies.
Right.
We couldn't have everybody. So there needs to be, I know there are places out there. You
That's
guys get in touch with Miss Jan. She would love it.
Yes, I will.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. This has just been a really wonderful, another snapshot of something amazing that happens within our community. And I did want to say this. You mentioned Jill lives in Marlow.
Yes.
So you have women not just from Duncan, but from surrounding communities.
Absolutely.
Who participate
Of
in
Stevens
this.
County, full Stevens County, and it reaches beyond.
Okay, so it's not limited. It is not limited. If you have someone in mind, this is not limited. It's open.
Right.
To whoever would like to be a part of it. That makes it even more special in my book. So, well, when we sign off, we say happy trails.
Okay.
So thanks for being on, Jan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We'll see you guys next week.
Happy
Happy trails.